What I'm going to be talking today about is prosecution evidence management, something that Tony and I have been working on for probably a good 2.5 years. We had this concept come up several years ago. I have been personally working on this for well over 3 years. And the concept, but we'll run you through how we got to where we were. As she said, I work for VeriPic County Information Technology. I'm the project director for Integrated Justice. Integrated Justice is basically everything you can think of justice related. I handle the RMS systems for the law enforcement, the case management systems for the courts, the CAD systems for law enforcement across the region, all of the medical examiner systems, the crime lab systems, all in an integrated format. I've been with Bexar County since 2007. When I walked in there, they had nothing. Absolutely nothing. We're currently migrating from a paper-based system, which you can't really call it a system, more a process, to a more of a digital format. As they said, I am retired law enforcement. I've done most everything. I have done crime scene investigation. I've done patrol work. I've done command work. I hated that. I'd much rather be on the street. Gives me a little bit of insight into what you guys go through. My experience, got a dual bachelor's degree. I don't know how those two came about. I had a bachelor's degree in public administration when I was doing law enforcement. When I started my way out of law enforcement, I went back and got a second bachelor's degree in computer science. It's because I wanted the money. I've had 12 years of designing systems. Started back when I was in law enforcement. We did a lot of designing systems on the old green screen type systems for records management, for all those different systems that people used. And honestly, some of our customers today still use those. I'm currently managing a $50 million project for integrated justice. One of those, and you may say that's a lot of money, but I've got well over 75 courts. I've got the medical examiner systems, all of the RMS systems, everything justice related is rolled up into that. I've implemented state and national based products, worked with the Texas Department of Transportation. We did a statewide DUI reporting system. That caught hold on the national level. NHTSA funded us to do a nationwide database for DUI reporting, because as you know, those DUI offenders go from one state to the other, especially if they're long haul truck drivers. I've managed state and national grant programs, and of course integrated justice solutions. And Tony and I were talking about regional wide projects. I was the overall project manager for a Bexar, Dallas, Tarrant, Travis case management solution for courts. I don't know if you can get your entities to agree on certain things, but I could not get those 4 entities to agree on anything. So Bexar County kind of pulled out. We're doing kind of our own thing now. Dallas, Tarrant, and Travis are still working down that road. I'm not sure they'll ever get there. What I want to talk to you today about is, again, prosecution evidence management. Give you a little bit of insight on to what Bexar County is, our size and our scope. Focus in on the e-discovery solution, what the driving factors were, what our return on investment's been, and how we've gotten to where we are today and where we're going in future releases. We've had a phase 1, phase 1B that had to go into play in a very short amount of time, and then we've got a phase 2 solution coming. And it's along the same lines of VeriPic's roadmap. I'm going to talk a little bit about integrations, how we use the API toolkit from VeriPic to integrate with our case management solutions, our RMS vendors, our CMS, our CAD. We've basically integrated all of the VeriPic solutions into our ancillary solutions, so it's a one-stop shop. Partnerships, I want to hit on that. Tony and I have talked about this at length over the years about partnerships between vendors and customers. And then I'm going to talk a little bit on the methods on how to move to a digital platform. Bexar County is the 7th largest county in the United States. We currently, I'm not sure of the population, it's a little over 1 million, maybe 1.7 million. Our largest growth has been in our unincorporated areas. That means out in the county, outside of the city limits. So it's pushing the limitations of Bexar County to supply those resources to the people living in the unincorporated areas. We got hit with the housing slump just like everybody else did. We're totally driven off of housing taxes. So the taxes on the houses is how we get our funding. We had to learn how to do more with less. So we pushed technology to do this. We focused on being results-oriented organization characterized by accountable, professional, and innovative leadership. Yeah, I don't know what that means, other than we basically had an ROI, or a return on investment, on every project that we presented. If it didn't prove that it was going to make the county money or save the county money, we weren't going to do it. So we've left a lot of projects on the table that didn't hit that guideline. We currently use the VeriPic mugshot. Tony, we put that in late 2010. Is that right? Took us what, 3 months? About 3 months from the date we signed the contract with VeriPic to get the full-blown VeriPic mugshot up and running. And Tony, I believe you said we were down for 3 hours when we did that. It was a difficult process. Now, where we've gone with this is we've actually integrated that with our CAD solution. That's our in-car CAD and our CAD systems where our dispatchers are located. So when a person is searched within our CAD solution, it also goes back to our VeriPic mugshot solution, pulls back a mugshot that our officers on the street and our dispatchers can see. So it actually goes and hits 5 or 6 different databases at that point, but it does pull back the VeriPic mugshot. We've got the VeriPic barcode for our physical evidence. We're about done with that, correct? We've got a few tweaks to that, but we've got 6 warehouses full of physical evidence that we track with VeriPic mugshot, or VeriPic barcode. Currently, we're looking at expanding that to our constables that actually handle some lower level evidence and bring that into all one solution. The digital evidence manager is the one that we are currently finishing up the implementations on. We did a little twist on this. We have a digital evidence management for law enforcement, and we have a digital evidence manager for the prosecutors. And what the difference is, law enforcement will do a lot of investigations and they'll have a lot of cases that they don't file. Once they're filed, the VeriPic, what do we call that one? Exporter?
E-discovery compiler?
No, the one that moves it from VeriPic to VeriPic.
Yeah, so e-discovery compiler.
E-discovery compiler moves it from law enforcement VeriPic data evidence management over to the prosecutor. That way that evidence gets locked down. There is no more changes to that evidence once it gets there. Other VeriPic modules, we just implemented a scan direct to digital evidence. What else are we utilizing, Tony?
Well, there's all sorts of back-end modules for all the interfaces.
Yeah. We currently have 40 Go licenses. I believe it's plus or minus over there. Over the whole, all of the platforms. We have the API toolkit, which we've utilized a lot to integrate with our RMS, all of the different systems that we have out there. And then we have interoperability between internal and external agencies. Our City of San Antonio Police Department handles most of the square miles of Bexar County. They have about 3 times the amount of law enforcement that Bexar County does, and they generate about 3 times the amount of data related to digital evidence. And that amount of data is moved directly from City of San Antonio directly into our digital evidence management solutions. Again, we've got a separate DEM for DA. Now, this is one of the concepts that we use for all of our projects. I believe the gentleman here was talking about a project that's been going on for 3 years and they can't figure out how to do it.
Well,
Apply this principle to it, because if you're going to continue to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, then okay, there you go.
I agree.
We apply this concept to every project that we go in. We are not going to recreate the same processes. We're going to streamline it, we're going to make it better, or we're not going to invest in it. We're going to reduce our technical debt. We don't do things, pardon my French, half-assed, because that creates a problem long-term for us to actually have to maintain that. We're going to do it right. We're going to do it right the first time. That takes the burden off of us on the maintenance side. And then simplification. Use this process. Simplify it. Break it down on what do you actually need to accomplish. Don't get bogged down on the little steps in between. From concept to production, we use a simple process. I call it the 5 Ds. The first part of it is define and design. We're going to sit down with our customers. We're going to find out what they need. We're going to develop it. We're going to demonstrate it to them, and then we're going to deploy it. At the end of this cycle, we're going to go through the realization, and we're going to find out what our return on investment was. If it's not what we think it is, we're going to go right back through that cycle, and we're going to go through those different phases of rolling this software out. The driving factors behind our e-discovery solution, 2010 we had an antiquated and completely paper-based solution. The DAs actually employed 30 technicians to compile all of the paper and digital evidence into folders and get them ready for discovery. They were constantly, all day long, 8 to 10 hours a day, making copies of digital, making copies of videos, getting those ready and compiling those for the defense. Very, very arduous, manpower intensive process. We wanted to increase in cases that contain some sort of digital evidence. We had a very large spike in our DUI offenses. Maybe it was just our DUI enforcement, I would think. But we had a lot of digital evidence coming in from the DUI videos. We had to find a way to manage that. And then the final one, statutes. And I'll talk a little bit about the statute that drove this e-discovery solution. The Michael Morton Act. If you don't know what this is, a gentleman was convicted of murder 25 years ago. I believe it was 1987 when the conviction came in. He was arrested in '86. He was sentenced to life in prison. The Innocence Project took the case over. They found out through DNA that this was not the right guy. They actually found the guy that did it and linked him to 3 other murders in the Williamson County area. That's in the Austin area. They didn't find this out until June of 2011. Now, he's been freed. What actually came about in this case was not only that the DNA was bad, but also that the prosecutor withheld evidence that probably would have cleared this guy. And what's driving this case law now is we have to be totally transparent to the defense. We have to show them everything. Even the stuff that we're not going to show them, we have to tell them we've got it. We've got privileged information sitting over here. We can't show it to you, but hey, by the way, we've got it and we're going to present it at trial. The prosecutor basically was found guilty of evidence and prosecutorial misconduct. He did go to jail. I believe he's out now. The Texas Supreme Court, they did an inquiry in 2013, and Morton's contention that Anderson had withheld and tampered with evidence, and he did. There was about 30 pages of witness statements that were taken out of the original case reporting, hence the need for page numbering. In all of our solutions of e-discovery that goes out, we have to page number every single thing. And it's not just Texas, guys. It will be coming your way. We're good at driving case law on a nationwide level. Again, he was jailed, fined, and lost his license to practice law. The worst part of this, every case this prosecutor has ever been on is under scrutiny. So every single case is being retried. What this has caused for us is panic between our DAs. Now they're like, oh crap, we got to get everything out there. Am I wrong, Tony? If you want to look at it, Morton's case is on CBS 60 Minutes. I believe it's March of 2012. All you got to do is Google Michael Morton, the case. You'll get tons of information, feedback on that. There's a book out. The Innocence Project's got a big write-up on it. You'll see what's coming your way. Now, we found out in November the new statute. Our illustrious governor decided to sign into law on September 1st. It hit the news, but we didn't find out until about November what the actual statute meant or what it was going to mean to us. There was a lot of changes to the e-discovery solution. If Tony's group hadn't been able to accomplish what we needed to accomplish, we would have had to shut it down, gone back to paper. So what Tony did in 3 or 4 weeks kept us in business. And yes, I owe you a drink on that one. What it says is we must give defense all applicable discoverable evidence. We must tell the defense what we have that's not discoverable, including work product. We must tell the defense when new evidence becomes available, even after trial. So what we were talking about as far as keeping digital evidence, we have to keep it for the lifetime now. We can't get rid of it. If new evidence comes to light, we have to notify the attorney of record that we've got new evidence based on that trial. We must give a full list of evidence at the time of trial. We must tell them and the court everything we've got. And the prosecutor must sign and affirm to that. If they withhold anything, they're guilty of a criminal offense in the state of Texas now, and they will go to jail. It's not just contempt of court. Need for government transparency. Right now we handle about 160,000 cases, criminal cases a year. It's a lot of cases, complexity. We've had some delays because of evidentiary discovery failure or missing information. I'll show you the old process and you'll understand why we were missing information. We needed to increase the throughput of cases through the justice system. We could not withstand the amount of delays because of discovery. And we needed to decrease our jail population. We were overpopulated. We're paying $80, a day per individual to house these people. And I believe our jail population is down to about 94% now. We were running about 130%. What we had before is and that is a logbook, guys. That's how we got our evidence, and that's how we managed it. We would have all this evidence coming in from the crime scene investigators. They were logging it into this logbook. They were moving it. They were filing it in manila folders, and they were sticking it in filing cabinets. That's how we managed our digital evidence when I walked in. I couldn't believe it. So once we had a request for discovery, we had to log it back out. Every piece of that evidence had to be logged back out. Then we had to get physical couriers, and we had to move that evidence around. Those couriers had to be certified, and they're not cheap, moving that evidence back and forth. Then we would move the evidence back out. We'd get a defense and a DA request for the data. We would have to actually make copies. Then we would have to get those same couriers back, and we would have to move those physical files, they were not digital, back out to the defense and the DA. And then once they were done with it, we had to move that data right back into our storage. Bexar County has probably the biggest footprint of warehouses of court data out there. We have probably 7 locations of very, very large warehouses of floor-to-ceiling paper documents. You've been in one of those, right, Tony?
Yes, sir.
They're huge. So the old process, once we got an order that the case was over, it would go back through that same logbook process. We'd have to go find the data. We'd have to find all the evidence. We'd move it, box it up, send it to one of our warehouses because we couldn't get rid of it. We had to keep it for the appeal process. At the end, probably 10, 15 years later, sometimes 20, we'd get an expungement order or a destruction order to go get rid of the evidence. Again, we've got to go back to that logbook process. We've got to find out where it's stored, which warehouse it's in. We've got to go to the box. We've got to find it. Then we've got to destroy it, making sure that we've destroyed everything. Very, very labor-intensive process. One of the goals and benefits to going to an electronic discovery portion is we have a single area where we keep all of our digital evidence. One single solution. Some of you guys were talking about your barcode solution, being able to actually track in your barcode solution and then back to your CMS. The way we accomplish that is through the API toolkit. All of that evidence is tracked within VeriPic. We leave pointers in our CMS or our RMS or our other solutions of where that data is within the VeriPic solution. All it is we're storing, a pointer, it's located here. And then once we pull it up, it's within that native solution. We eliminate the redundant copy cost. We're no longer making copies of case files. You either do e-discovery or you come down and you pay us to make a copy. Real-time information access and point-in-time reporting capability. We need to know exactly where that data is or where that evidence is at any given time. We need to know that it's out to the lab. We need to know that it's incoming from the lab or from the medical examiner to us. We have to have a full chain of custody. Real-time redaction capabilities. There are times where the court will order us to redact certain parts of the written information. We are able to actually redact that and send a whole new package out. And reduce our operating costs by integrating systems and creating staff efficiencies. Now we've relocated all those people that were making copies. They're actually doing front-end work. And by the way, those were attorneys that were making copies of those case files, not just clerks. Your attorneys that were assigned to prosecute that case were making discovery packages. Our definition and scope for e-discovery, again, we needed the best way to get this discovery out to the defense and take away all of their objections to moving forward with the trial. That included a lot of auditable information in the background that you got it and you accessed it. And we know you got it and you accessed it. And we present that at trial. Currently we have several different solutions that we interface with. We have a crime lab system that's a third-party vendor, a separate medical examiner system. We have Bexar County Coban. That's all of our in-car video, our interview rooms, our body cams that we use for Bexar County law enforcement. Then we have a separate interface to our San Antonio Police Department. They're about 3 times the size of us, and we didn't want to house all of their stuff, so they handle all of that. We interface to that and bring that data in to VeriPic. And then we have several different scanning solutions that will bring the data in. You'll notice the middle, we've got the VeriPic DA and the VeriPic law enforcement. We have the ability to transmit cases back and forth. One of the things that we put into play with the correlation between agency case number and the court case number. So once a court case is created, we have a correlation back to the agency case number, and it will automatically move that stuff from law enforcement into the DA and mark it as evidentiary. That way, when the expungement orders or the destruction orders come back with the case number, we have that correlating link and we know exactly what evidence to go. We also have an interface back to our court system. At any given time, they can click a link and be right there with the evidence and pull it up in the courtroom. That's one of the advantages of doing the gold license with the DA module. All right, that's what we use for our current e-discovery solution. Somebody said something about SharePoint the other day. Please don't use it. And I'll tell you why in a few minutes. There are other presentation platforms that can get it out better than SharePoint. We have the mugshot solution. We actually get out all of the criminal histories, including a mugshot, within our e-discovery solution. The barcode solution, we have a list of evidence that's coming in that's physical, that we actually hold for the cases. DEM gives us all the digital evidence plus a package of that digital evidence that we get out there. And we have the co-band video infrastructures and the custom interfaces to pull data from other solutions, such as the medical examiner and the crime labs. Currently what we do is, you'll see we scan everything. It goes to our VeriPic DEM solution. We have direct input from the DA and law enforcement, and we create a package for every case that goes out there. Now what we did under this architecture is we created a storage nightmare, because we found that only about 70% of these cases ever get accessed. There are about 30% that the defense never even looks at. They're going to plea bargain without even getting the discovery package. So we went through we deployed it. We had 4,600 registered users within 2 months. First year results, we had 160,000 cases, 60,000 felonies, large felonies, 100,000 misdemeanors, and 40,000 of those misdemeanors were DUI cases with videos and other sorts of digital evidence associated with it. Case packets were created, and we can create a case packet in less than 5 minutes and have it out to the defense. Labor cost. This was something that VeriPic put together for me so I could get additional licenses. Thank you very much. We found out that this, again, we're a victim of our own success. We had to have more licenses, and we had to have them quick. So we basically went through an ROI with our Commissioner's Court, who does the funding. First year, just on scanning, we saved over $150,000. We had a projected time savings in court presentations and preparations. Our DAs now create their case packages and their evidence presentations within VeriPic and do that within the courtroom. They were having to do that manually through a lot of different formats before. Eliminates chain of custody issues on digital evidence. I've probably only had to testify twice since we've put DEM in that there was any chain of custody issues, and of those 2 instances I've gone back to the audit trail and was able to prove that the evidence made its way through and the chain of custody was never broken. We actually were able to save 4 full-time employees. Now, we didn't fire these people, but we put them in other worthwhile positions so that they could do more worthwhile work. Our overall projection, and actually this is no longer projection, we actually proved this in our last budget cycle, we saved over $600,000 in manpower, paper, processing costs just for Ediscope. So well over $500,000 savings. Again, victim of our own success. The 5-year life cycle of what we thought that platform was going to work lasted about a year. We hit the storage limitations of SharePoint within that 9-month time frame, and we're constantly having to delete cases from it so that we don't go over that limitation. Storage, currently I have 3 petabytes of storage, and we're on track to add at least 1 to 2 petabytes a year to keep up with the digital evidence that we're going to have to maintain. And the current solution, we didn't talk to the defense attorneys when we put this out there. We just assumed that they all had, for lack of a better term, computer skills. Most of them do not. They were working on Windows 95 and before. Internet Explorer does not work with, IE6 I believe is one that we had from one attorney, does not work with SharePoint. Most of them work on Macs. Macs don't work with Microsoft products. They work on iPads. iPads are not good for pulling up FLV videos. You cannot do it. So we've gone through a different redesign, and now we're going to do what's called a discovery on demand. We have a central location for all of our discoverable information. We've built it on a platform where it's mobile, either a laptop version, a mobile phone version. We've got one of my developers is doing an iPad app right now. We're looking at Windows 8 apps, getting those out there, making those a little more secure, a little more agile. We do utilize a cloud storage facility, but it's not your public cloud. We have our own private cloud of storage out there. It is CJIS compliant. We made it CJIS compliant. It's hard to do that in the public cloud because they have to abide by all of their customers. A defense attorney is going to request by case discovery. It's going to go to our evidence manager. It's going to create the package. It's going to send it out, and we're done. We don't store this anymore. It is delivered directly to the defense attorney. It's taking it off of our stuff. We're not actually storing 2 and 3 different copies of it anymore. It is discovery on demand. Whatever's there right now, they're going to get. We've made some additional enhancements. It's compatible with all browsers. Whether you're working on an iPad, Android, Windows 8, IE11, doesn't matter. It's going to be compatible. We secured the access for this application through our Active Directory. We actually store all 4,600 attorneys in our Active Directory. We've tied that to the defense bars, the State Bar Association that handles the licensing of attorneys in the state of Texas. So we know if they've been disbarred or they're no longer eligible to practice. Document, video, audio, pictures, court pleadings, everything goes into this package. We created an evidence index. That means basically we're telling them exactly what we have. We have all of this information. Here's everything that you've gotten delivered to you that was discoverable, and here's everything that we're holding back. This is what we're going to be presenting at trial. That's part of that mandate. And then additional notifications. Part of the mandate is we have to notify them after trial if anything else is added to this case file. So we've built up a update or an RSS type feed, email notification, that we've added new evidence to this case. They will then have access to see those documents and or evidence. Last thing I'm going to hit on is moving to a digital format. All I can say is that one up top, commit to it. If you're not committed, don't do it. Like I said, I walked in, there was nothing. VeriPic walked in, 2 years later, we were totally digital. We went from a totally paper-based solution to totally digital. Not without scars and pain. Again, antiquated process, 2 years. You've got to develop your policies and procedures. Make sure that you have policies and procedures on your archival process, and let the policies and procedures drive your software. Make it configurable to your policies and procedures. Take small chunks. We were able to actually accomplish small bits, show a return on investment to our funding sources, and they would open up the floodgates to us to give us more money to show more improvements. Transition is going to be difficult. A lot of the reasons, they want to cling to the old ways of doing business. Everybody's heard this one. We've always done it that way. There's a sign in my office that basically has that in there with a red X through it. You do not say that in my office, because we will challenge you. They'll challenge you that it's statutory. We've got to do it this way because the statute says. I challenge attorneys on statute. Show me the statute. Show me the interpretation of the statute. How old is that statute? A lot of times statutes don't keep up with technology. Change your processes and the software to maximize your benefits. One of the methodologies that we use, and it's been proven, if you change your process and utilize the same software, you get about a 10% improvement on your throughput, and you'll see a 10% ROI. If you change software and don't change your processes, you're only going to get about a 5% return on your investment. If you change both your process and your software, it's shown to be about an 85% return on investment every single time. Security is a main recommendation on going to a digital platform. You've got to secure it. You've got to know where it's at. One of the methods that we use, and I'm glad you brought it up this morning, Tony, is we chunk that out on different servers. The actual images are sitting on one server, the database is sitting on another server, and then we've got the application sitting on totally separate servers. So unless you've got access to all three of those servers, you can't put that information together. Additionally, we've got a storage solution that will actually chunk portions of the data, the electronic data, up on different areas of the SAN. So you really can't put it together unless you know all of the different tricks on how we chunked it up. Push the envelope with new technology. Again, that takes commitment, that takes funding. But stay on the cutting edge, not the bleeding edge. Stay as close to the cutting edge as you possibly can. Plan for the future. Look at your storage needs. If you've got 5 terabytes now, expect to double that over the next 5 years. You're gonna hit that. Assessing your storage needs, impacts of changing technologies. Microsoft is the world's worst about changing technologies, probably more frequent than any other division. It's been difficult for us to stay up with their change, but we've stayed on their level platform. We're currently on the latest and greatest of SQL, latest and greatest of servers. We keep our security updates so that we're not as vulnerable. Partner with your vendors. Tony's a little modest about partnership. and I've said this to other vendors, to use VeriPic as a model on how you should partner with your customers. Tony has been over backwards to help Bexar County meet its goals. Goes to, I guess, your methodology for your company. I'm not a salesman for VeriPic, but I am a salesman on your methodology. Anything we've ever needed to stay current, stay with statute, Tony's been there, Ryan's been there, all of the group's been there for us. A partnership with your vendor is extremely important. Garner open communications. Make sure that there is open communications going back and forth. Don't just be a dictator when you tell the vendor, I want this. Be willing to listen to what their recommendations are for better solutions. Tony has recommended a lot of things that went a totally different direction than what we thought we were going to do in the beginning. Push the vendor to create a better product. I always push VeriPic and all of the vendors that I deal with to make their product do as much as I possibly can. We don't push it outside of the envelope of what its original scope is. We want it to make it better. Avenues for clients to optimize processes. Rely on your vendors to help you. They deal with other customers, just like you guys. It's good to have user groups where we can share information back and forth. How are you utilizing it? Well, we're utilizing it this way. Well, I never thought about that. Vendor discussions, user group discussions, blogs between between customers of a certain vendor. And important to find vendors that will listen. Map to your goals. Set your goals. This is what I'm going to accomplish. Don't set the actual task that you're going to try to accomplish, but what is your ultimate goal? And then leverage their expertise. Other than that, bring other customer experiences. Again, the blog. And that's all I've got today. Questions?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I don't know how many of you know it, but we started a LinkedIn group on LinkedIn.com for VeriPic customers and employees. So that's when Brian was talking about creating a forum where different customers of ours and employees can share information. That's what that's intended to be. So when you get back to your agencies, and if you want to participate in that, join the LinkedIn group for VeriPic customers and employees. And then if you have questions, that's a very good place to post it, because then either somebody at the company can answer your question, or some other agency could say, we ran into the exact same thing. This is how we dealt with it, and so forth.
Did Bexar County fund most of the transition, or did the agencies fund their own aspects of it?
It's interesting. Bexar County took a different approach with how we fund projects. We've seen where you've got local elected officials with their own pot of money and they drive what they want. That is not a good way to do business. We're trying to drive Bexar County into handling the county more as a business. So all of the funding came to me. And I basically have a steering committee group that I take recommendations from or request for new projects. And then we basically divvy that funding out of this $50 million pot of gold. They don't get to drive their own political pieces out of it. We took the political piece out. So yes, Bexar County funded the whole thing. We did it through bond funding, which is a cheap way of basically leasing technology. It's easier to get funded that way. Some of the e-discovery solution was handled through seizure funds, through the DA's office. We currently have about, with the Adobe Lifecycle piece and all of the VeriPic solution, a little over $500,000 in our e-discovery solution. But it was from the ground up. It's all all of the infrastructure, all the way up to the management portions of it. It wouldn't be that expensive for others. And the current solution is probably a lot less expensive when you look at, discovery on demand. Okay. I'll be around if you have any other questions, comments. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.